Well, hello, shower door people. Welcome to another Wednesday live stream with the shower door professionals. As you know, we meet weekly to discuss business, education, safety, design, and everything else as it pertains to shower doors, glass, and the glazing industry. And so please take a minute to like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, give us a review. I don't know. What do people do these days? Good stuff. If you've got something to do it. Got a good crowd here tonight. It's pretty close to the holidays and people are feeling festive. I can see some Christmas trees in the background and stuff. Warms my heart, warms my heart. And I see that we have Christina with us. Christina, how are you? Are you feeling festive?
Very festive. 'Tis the season. So thanks, Chris. I'm actually at like a birthday dinner right now, so I'll just give the update and then I have to head out. I'll listen tomorrow. But
okay.
Yeah, we have a shower door professionals co-op. It's kind of a little bit of a subset of this group of people who've kind of been in business for a long time that we're wanting to refer each other. And we it's not all that exclusive or anything. We just want to make sure that we're referring people who are really invested in shower doors specifically, know what they're doing, feel really confident about it. And it's a referral network. That is how it started, tried and true. So a lot of good marketing, search engine optimization, great opportunities for spotlights on our Instagram pages and blog posts on the website. We're already getting website traffic, so that is awesome. Yeah, we're going to have resources for one another, but we're also going to have resources for homeowners and consumers, contractors and things like that. So we've got a lot of great opportunities. We have a lot of people who are stepping up to the plate to help. So thank you so much for that. If you are already pre-approved as a member, you should have an invoice in your inbox for your stock buy-in, which is $1,200. If you buy in before the end of the year, your first year of membership is free. So that at the end of this year. So that is how that works. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask any of us on the board. That is Chris, myself, Shannon, Lana, and Rob Gomez. And then if you are ineligible for any reason to join the co-op, let us help you as a community to become eligible. Let's help each other. Let's grow each other. Let's grow the industry, keep our reputations high. Let's be better than other contractors who don't have good reputations, and let's just make our industry better. So I am so sure I missed some things here, but Chris, is that okay?
I don't think you missed anything. I think that was great. Very concise.
Thanks.
Like that. Yeah. So, well, hey, have a great get together party, whatever's going on there. I know it's the season for parties, so.
Well, yeah. Happy birthday. You said it was your birthday, right?
Yeah, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. My birthday was yesterday. This is actually for another friend, but yeah, it'll be fun. So I'm sad I'm missing the metrics meeting because it's my jam, but I can't wait to listen.
Yeah. You'll be able to listen later. Thanks again. Thanks for showing up. That's awesome. Well, all right. Well, as Christina was alluding to, our topic tonight is end of year metrics. Let's talk a little bit about knowing your numbers. What about those end of year reports? Those are a lot of fun. And how about setting goals for next year based on how you did this year? Gosh, I was kind of hoping to see Greg in here. This is kind of his wheelhouse. But he's shared a lot of stuff in the past about this. And I know we've got some other number crunchers on the call tonight. So I'm sure that we'll get some good insights into what that looks like for you. But anyways, who wants to be first to dive in?
Well, I've got one question not pertaining to this topic.
Okay, yeah, we can take that.
So I'm doing a curved shower door.
Ooh.
Has anybody ever dealt with those?
Curved glass. I have.
You have?
I have.
Yeah.
So, how did you mount the door?
I mounted it using clips. Oh yeah, just the door. So the
door.
door is curved.
Yeah, it's a curve, it's just a door, and it's like a 2'6" radius. And I think about using a pivot hinge top and bottom, but I don't know how that's gonna work. I mean,
I think well that would be right up Bill's alley, actually.
That's the only way we do them. Yeah.
Huh?
We do a pivot hinge all the time. Sometimes you can even have, depending on if it's going up to the soffit or you're going into a transom that's bent.
well,
Or,
this is in a soffit, you know, it's soffited down, it's just a door.
oh, that's simple then. Yeah, pivots, top and bottom,
A
done.
pivot, but what about the radius? I mean, how does that work with the hinge? Is it,
No problem at all. There's little limit switches that you can, or limit plates that you can put on, just like the same plate that you would put on a wall hinge to limit the door, but I've
Yeah.
never had a problem with it, ever.
okay. Well, my contractor called me
Over-
today,
Over that
Unless
little
unless your
distance-
wall is really weird, Tim.
you know, they,
You know, as the curve comes around, that wall depends if it's really rotated or not.
no, it's not, it was, originally it's a curved shower and they took it out, the owner, they wanted a bigger door.
Pivots, perfect.
And there was a pivot there, and of course, the contractor tore it out before I could look at it.
Yeah,
I saw it once when I was at the house, but then, and
not a problem at all.
the pivot, do you set it in a little bit off the edge of the glass, or?
Yeah, the center of the pivot is 2.5 inches in from the edge of the glass, and the pivot notch overall width of it is 2 inches, leaving you a 1/2 inch nipple on the ends of
Yeah.
glass.
Yeah, okay, sticking out.
I mean, if you're going to the soffit, you can bring it in wherever you want.
Oh,
You
yeah,
don't
yeah.
have to stay 2.5.
Yeah, I just want, that's what I had in mind, and I just wanted to make sure.
You can bring it in to 3 if you want.
Yeah,
Doesn't really matter.
yeah,
Yeah, but really, if you've got a curved piece of glass, the flattest part is usually on the edges,
on the edge, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, whether you use a pivot or a regular hinge, you shouldn't have any problem with a curve.
Yeah, I just don't crank the plate down so much. Put enough
no,
the gasketing in there.
well, yeah,
So when you tighten it, it holds, but you're not putting a lot of pressure at that radius.
yeah,
But that doesn't sound like a steep radius either.
no.
It's a
It's not.
slight curve. Yeah,
Okay,
I think
probably done 5 or 6 of those.
Nice.
sounds
Good
good.
answer. Good answer. All
That's an
right.
easy.
Yeah.
That's an easy one too.
Yeah.
That's the easy one. Next one, I've got a
The softball.
staircase and a curved balcony up above. So that's the next one.
Uh-oh, I lost you guys here. Everybody gone?
Yeah.
We're here.
Cool. So
Okay.
anyways, getting back to the topic at hand, who wants to talk a little bit about how about you, Shannon? Can I volunteer you? I know that you're a
Sure,
number
why-
cruncher.
Sure, why not? Well, as a CPA in my first career, you'd think I'd be all about the financial statements, which I am. Financial statements are good, but those are all lag indicators. So at the end of the month, end of the year, end of whatever, you say, how'd I do? It doesn't really help you to plan ahead. So we go through this rigmarole. We end up with more data than we really need. We're kind of all data hounds. But the idea is that we want each person in the company to have their lead indicator, not their lag indicator. So we go through and we say, okay, we had this many measure appointments that resulted in this many installations that resulted in this much money. So if we want, here's the new amount that we want for next year. So how many measure appointments do we need for the year? How many for the month? How many for the week? How many for the day? How many for our we have a couple of pinch installer or measures if we need it. So how many measure appointments do we need every day, every week? And our measure scheduling coordinator has the job of making sure that he schedules enough measures to make our goals. That's just one piece. Then of course you do the measure and you got to get the quote out. Did you quote everything? Did you have to go back, get back there? How many quotes are converting? Is there a problem? Are we not selling right? So then we've got our conversion goals. And then installs, do we have any go backs? And our install coordinator has to make sure that they have enough installers. Same thing. How many installs do we need? How many install teams do we have? How much do they need to do per day, per week? Are we ahead? Are we behind? And then that's when the install coordinator gets to fight with the measure coordinator. I need another person for install. No, I need them for my measures. So for us, even though I love financials, what are the lead indicators that if we do this, we'll meet our goal?
Excellent. Yeah, that's great. That, I mean, that right there, right off the bat, I think kind of takes the conversation in the right direction, because the first thing you tend to think about is like, you know, the bottom line, right? Balance sheet, you know, profit and loss. But really those don't really tell you, like you're saying, those lag behind. They don't really tell you what's happening now. They're certainly not going to tell you what to expect in the future. Good answer. Hmm. Yeah.
So I got off a little bit because my wife's giving me some food. But
Oh.
Okay. That's
Shannon, I mean, that's perfect. And then you take it to the next step and you got to dive down a little bit more. And I'm sure you would have got to that if you have to. But just like you need more estimates, well, how much money are you putting into advertising to get those calls to come in? Which ones are working? You have to analyze when you're starting to get the calls. What ad did you run? Can you track which ad generated the calls? What day was it? You know, if it's a TV, what day was it run? What time of day? What shows was it on? If it's newspaper, what day of the week did it come out? Were you a right-hand read, a left-hand read? Were you above the fold, below the fold? Because you can choose that when you do advertising. If you're doing social media, do you have a call to action in there, or do you just want to get your name out? If you have a call to action, how many leads are you generating? Are they good quality leads? Do you need to use a different marketing way of getting people? Maybe you're getting tire kickers, or they're just going to get estimates from 3 or 4 people, and that's counterproductive to what you want. So you have to target the customer that you know is your typical customer. We generally start off writing a description of what our typical customer is, where the typical customer lives. Now, it's not all of them, but you're using the 80-20 rule, right? Like in our case, most of them are in gated communities. Most of them are near the water. So you've got that. Maybe they either own a boat or on a golf course or something like that. And then you target those areas, and you can do it simply with postcards. Some of the newspapers now have services that'll get you there, but now with some television, you can digitally target through certain cable companies that zip code and that development. So that's another way. Once you take Shannon's and you say, okay, we need to generate this many leads, now you have to take it further and say, how are we going to generate those leads? Or do you do it like Shannon also does? Do you host events for builders and put a goal out there for your sales team that I need you to bring in 3 new contractors this month, and every month thereafter to bring in 3 new contractors? By the end of the year, you have 36 new contractors if they hit their goals. So again, that's going to and some contractors are remodelers, so you may get 2 bathrooms, 3 bathrooms a month from this guy, as opposed to a home builder where you're going to wait 6 months to get 5 showers in one house. So which one turns it over quicker? So there's just so many analytics, but she's absolutely right. Every single thing that she said there is spot on. And then you can just dive in a little bit deeper. The next part is you've got to look at this year. Take a look at the amount of sales you had. What's your net profit after all your expenses and everything is paid? What's your net profit? Are you selling your product for the right amount of money? Or are you spinning your wheels say, oh, my revenue has gone way up, but I'm not making the money I did in the past? That's a number of things. Are you less efficient? You You have mismeasures, you have go backs, you have mistakes. That's one. The other thing is maybe your pricing is just too low. Maybe you were competing against somebody else. You dropped your price to get a job and it was the worst thing you did. And maybe the no was the right answer for that job. You shouldn't have taken it. And your competitor's getting ahead because they're pricing it right. So there's a lot to look at there. I mean, we look at net profit, and then we'll, as a team, we're going to look at how do we increase the net profit. I mean, bottom line is what it's all about. If you're going to work hard all year, let's make some money. So we always look at net profit. Now, once I look at net profit and say, okay, we should have done better. You go back to what Shannon says. Okay, how are we going to do better? What do we need to do? Do we need to train our salespeople? Do we need to run more advertising? But that means spending more money, which reduces your net profit. So there's a lot of factors there. All right, that's it for now.
Brilliant. That's great. That's great stuff. It gets really quiet and everybody's like really thinking. Right.
Well, Greg showed up. Woohoo, Greg's here.
Yeah, Greg's here.
You put me on the spot, Greg, because you weren't here. You gotta jump
sorry
in.
about that. Sorry about that.
He might be just the person I need to
Greg?
give us a nice lashing. I was gonna ask, since this topic, I was hoping maybe for some constructive and harsh feedback, maybe, or improve, to get better with this stuff. Because I actually just a little deeper behind our scenes and putting some stuff out there. Had a talk with my parents about this issue. Like I asked them when the last time was that we've done a budget for the company to project what we're going to do with the money we made. And they said, well, I did one before we started the business, and that's the last time. So it's like, so my whole goal right now is, to fine tune the numbers and figure out where everything's going and see how much lifestyle is influxed and where everything's trickling out. So I'm just diving as deep as I can into the numbers and figuring out a lot of stuff. And I need to figure out how to do it. But also, so it's just amazing. Like 1 month, our break-even number is right around 124,000. But I know some months we fall just shy of that, and then some months we're over 200. So it's like, I know we're capable of doing a certain amount, but then some months we have just a little bit amount of, break even barely. And then some months we're losing a little bit and not hitting that number. But how do you find the time when you feel like you have no time to dive into those numbers and get a hold of them and do all these things when you're doing too many other things on a normal basis? Do you have to maybe do every Sunday or pick a day and just do it for a few months and get a hold of it? Is that like your kind of sacrifice to catch up? And, because it's not like we're doing a small amount by any means. So it's kind of a lot to kind of get a hold of and wrangle in. And ultimately I need to do this so that I can figure out where all our profits are to essentially buy them out. So it's really important for me to figure this out. And this topic is really good. So any constructive criticism on making a budget, and then for the business, a business budget, and projecting stuff out, just even the basics, not necessarily trying to market and sell more, just trying to manage what you are doing in the process and what you have already. And then maybe we can figure out how to spend more time bringing more business in. So that's where we're at with accounting. It's very, very inefficient and needs a lot of improvement. So any good strategies on just managing the accounting that you have, so.
Well, who's doing your accounting currently?
It's it's a combination of the whole family. We have a tax person that does our taxes. So they do all of our taxes and they do all the quarterly taxes and stuff like that. And he'll come in and take care of all that. Then on the bookkeeping side, my wife does a lot of it. And then my mother does a lot of it, as far as my mother will reconcile the registry and checkbook and all that stuff. And then my wife is doing a lot of the invoicing. And then my sister is doing all the receivables. So it's kind of a combination of all of them in the office doing a little bit, but then I think ultimately my mother is doing the bookkeeping and reconciling and stuff like that. But it's only done like, it's done once a month. So I don't know. They're doing that, but I made them cry a little. I made one of them cry. It wasn't my father, this week. And then it was a fun conversation. I told him, that the business is trying to talk to us, it's telling us what it needs, and we need to listen to it. So,
Yeah, it sounds like you're almost at the stage where you guys have just been happy that everybody has a job. It's not an insult. This is kind of a compliment that you're just happy that everybody has a job and it's been able to provide for families and put food on the table. And
yeah,
that's fine, but you have to
for
decide.
them.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm offering it, not like I'm an expert, but if you want to certainly either come up to the office in Knoxville or you want to talk on the phone, I'd be happy to look at your numbers if you want to share them. If you don't, I'm not offended. But sounds like you just need to get everything. You don't know where everything's going, and you're
I,
lost. And that's what you're saying, and I get it. I've been
yeah,
there.
I feel like it just trickles out and it just dwindles away and there's no plan to tell it where to go, which is obviously what you do with the budget. And then just watching it very closely. I told them like they need to get a hold of this thing and strangle the pennies out of it and watch it. And, like it's very important for us right now because,
One of the things
you
you
know,
said was a little concerning is you said, well, some months we'll
Mhm.
do this and then some months we'll do that. I mean, my numbers are very consistent. Now,
Yeah,
maybe you're doing $50,000 railing jobs or something that will invoice in 1 month. But if you're doing shower doors and that's 90%, I mean, you should, and you have crews, those numbers should be really, really consistent. I
yeah,
don't want to speak for Bill, but I'd be shocked if Bill's numbers were wild, with the same crew, same order base. His numbers aren't changing by 10% a month. They're not.
yeah,
They're not.
yeah. It
So
changes. It changes pretty drastically, and it's just a matter of what we can handle on a given month, I guess, because there are no sales reps. It's just me and my father doing the sales and then measuring and all that other stuff, that go along with it. So yeah, it'll range from 120 to 220. So it's like, it's just a matter of what we can pump out and what we had, so yeah, it's interesting to say
Yeah,
the
and
least.
it may be something as simple as that when you're ordering something and you're putting it in inventory, you're counting that as an expense right away. And it's not really, it's sitting in inventory, but you're
Mhm.
capturing it and it's showing a loss for that month. But you got to look at it like that's still money sitting on the shelf. That's not a cost of the job. It may be something simple like that. It sounds to me like you've got so many people in the books that nobody's really trained to categorize the things properly that a true accountant or CPA would need to get you the accurate figures.
Yeah.
Hey, don't take it as a knock. I've been in the, I think all of us, when we started the exact same way. We're not accountants. We're doing the best we can running our business. And,
Hmm.
you know, I found out a lot when I hired our first controller. I mean, I did the same thing. We had a bookkeeper. My wife did payroll. Somebody else paid the bills. Then a tax guy came in and he balanced it and he did our quarterlies and did our taxes. But that's not the person, nor does it sound like any of the family members or the people that truly understand the analytics of what you've got going on in your business.
Yeah, none of them really do. I'm trying to bring it to light and I'm trying to convince them like, hey, we could just outsource this, bring somebody in and do it for us, So I mean, somebody that actually knows what they're doing.
I've
So
mentioned it before. There's free services that'll do that for you and help you and teach you. And that's the Small Business Development Center. Those are set up for free. Just get a counselor. They'll come in, they'll give you, which is nice. It's a 30,000-foot view of your business. And it's free. And they'll help mentor you. Now, Greg gave you a great offer. I mean, guys in the business like us, we can throw our eyes on it and say, okay, we see this, we see this, we see this. But you need something ongoing. So
hmm.
computers are great, but it's going to spit out what you put in. And if you're not putting it
Yeah.
in either the right categories or you're not doing it accurately, it's giving you false numbers.
So I was gonna ask the same thing Bill did, Daniel, when you said you had this big swing, is whether or not you're doing accrual-based or cash-based accounting. Because if you're trying to go off of cash, then a lot of times you can get a big deposit, you can wait a while to get paid, and you're seeing that fluctuation. So you want to make sure that you're posting the revenue when it is earned, and it's earned when it's installed, no matter when you get paid. And I used to, so one of my jobs, I used to work for Widmer Brothers Brewing, and we were an $80 million company, and the budget was just rock solid. And it took them years and years to get there. And even though I was in charge of pulling together the budget, the salesperson had to say, here is what we will sell and when we will sell it. Marketing said, here's how we're going to market. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's what we expect our results to be. Production said, here's my next year's hops contract. Here's what my costs are going to be to brew. So my suggestion would be to split it up and get people in charge of different pieces so that you can really get your hands on a smaller portion instead of one person trying to understand everything. If you split it up and you say, okay, you're going to be in charge of revenue, and maybe you just start there. What do we think we're going to do? Maybe you've got a little bit of cyclical, January, February is lighter than August. And maybe you start trying to figure that out. You can always start with last year. Last year or average is as good a budget as anything if you're starting from nothing. But then every single month is a learning opportunity. So we thought that we would make 120. We did 220. Why? Why was it so crazy? Why was it so? Oh, well, look, we did a wine room. Look, we've been doing, we used to do one wine room a year. Now we're doing one every 3 months. So now you've got some information, and each month becomes a learning opportunity to get better and better at kind of understanding your business and fine tuning. But don't put it, I would say, don't put it on, just one person to try and get it all. Make sure that it's a group effort. And as much as I love accounting and the accounting profession, you guys are the business owners. You have your fingers on the pulse of it. And quick story, I worked with a guy, I used to do consulting. And this guy, he ran a manufacturing company, and he said, I know nothing about accounting. And I tried to get him said, I don't know anything. My tax person does that. So he called me after about 3 months after we implemented, and he said, my cost of goods sold is off. I'm like, well, how do you know? He goes, well, we did this and we did that. He described his business, and he knew what his business result was. He knew his business, and the numbers should follow that. So it's not like you have to have some, crazy witchcraft understanding of accounting. You just need to figure out, understand, learn from history how different things you do in the business result in the numbers, why those come together, and it's doable. I see so many people with like this, oh, accounting, no, it's totally doable. It's the language of your business. It's the scoreboard.
Yeah, we have plenty of data. So we have plenty of that.
Hard. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. It's daunting, but it's not that hard. And my question would be, is everybody looking to you to pull all this together, or are you getting, and I'm not trying to get personal here, but are you getting pushback and people like, well, Daniel, stay in your lane?
No, not at all. I'm trying to open up eyes and, trying to bring it all to light and like, hey, let's make some money and find out what's going on, because everybody is more just flat. And, I don't mind getting personal. I honestly could care less, it's putting stuff out there. It's not a big deal to me. I said, what's your opinion and what's your thought on business? She said, oh, money in, money out. I said, that is terrible. I said, you need to go get a job somewhere. I said, that is not what a business is supposed to be. And so anyway, I'm like, so that's what I'm essentially working with. And then You know, my father, he's good. I mean, they've done great. They've kept it open for 20 years. There's something to be said for it, you know.
Oh, yes.
But after 20 years, you guys should be millionaires probably by now, you know? Like, I mean, to an extent that you know, it could be crazy by now if you were to put the planning into it. So there's no strategic planning. We have loads of data to pull from, and I pull it all the time, and it drives me nuts looking at it. Not just in a good way, essentially, you know, like knowing what can be, and then it's just trying to fine tune it, and you know, like everything's pretty consistent as far as the cost of goods and all that stuff, and our payroll percentages and everything is all pretty consistent. It's just a matter of fine tuning. You know, like there's just something, you know, and I'm just trying to figure out everybody's strategies on it. How do they do it? Like we don't do a closing of the books, you know, there's no closing of the books ever. It's just balance the registry and that's it, you know? So it's like trying to turn it into, instead of a lifestyle business, turn it into a business that closes the books, and you put this stuff here. Like how do you close your books? What is y'all's process like? How do you separate if there is any profit? How do you decide where it goes and what, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So that's what I'm trying to figure out now. And then so we can actually tell it where to go once we know how much it is, and then we can make a plan for it, you know?
You just don't really know your numbers right now. That's all. And I don't
Yeah.
say that in a mean way. You just don't really know your numbers. So, it really interesting stuff. So, you can do what Bill said, go to, Small Business Development Council. There are other resources on here. I'd be happy to look at your numbers and be happy to help in any way I can. I don't want to obviously cause trouble in a family business, but, be happy to look at them and give you,
Yeah.
our experiences and how I track my numbers and what I do to, and it's really important stuff because I know my materials percentages from the year before, my payroll percentages, how much, and how much we put in, our completion percentage, all those things are where you're going to make your money or not. Getting above break even, staying above break even. The further above break even you are, the more the money rolls in. I don't know if you've ever seen corporate reports, but companies, you'll see somebody like, and I'm just making this up, but like you'll see FedEx sales down 2%, profits down 20%. Well, how did that happen? Sales were only down 2% because there's the money's at the very top. As they say in business, you work for the first, 28 days, and the last 2 days is where you make your money. So, there's a lot of truth to that because you got to get to break even and get above it. But I think, and I don't mean this in a mean way, I think you're just a little lost on where your numbers are and you're a little overwhelmed, and that's okay. We've all been there. And, there's a lot of resources in this group. So feel free to call me specifically. Shannon certainly got a tremendous numbers background. Bill knows more than all of us combined. So, Billy's running a successful business, Hey, Billy. So, you got a lot of guys that are over, you got the Brad's over there. So you got people over 2 million plus. And I don't mean insult anybody, but when you get above 2 million, it's really, now you're running a business. You're not just 3 or 4 of you kind of doing all the work. You got employees, you got to have systems, you got to have structures, and those come with size. And we're all at different phases of that. And, but until you get a grasp of your numbers, you're really not you won't be free. You won't be in control.
No,
Until
definitely not free right now. And it's definitely what I'm here is to be around the people that are where I need to be eventually. So.
Daniel, I'll jump in if you don't mind. I'm probably the closest step above where you're at right now. Coming from a family business, we're 65 years old. Now, given world's been a little different the last few months, but if you want to sit down at some point and talk about how you get from where you're sitting right now to finding time and finding the right people and finding the steps to that next step that you're wanting, that I'm hearing, anytime, man, you can reach out and we can talk through what the last 5 to 10 years of my life has looked like, where I've been talking to the Gregs and the Bills and the people that were a couple steps above me and going, okay, what's the next step here? How did you get to this? How did you do that? But I'm in the situation. My father's been in the company. My grandfather was in the business. And we had to go from a survival to a thriving business, and what steps it took to do that. Those are pretty recent for us, as we've shifted our business quite a bit over the last 5 to 10. So, man, yeah, most definitely reach out anytime, and we can talk through some of those steps, and some of them are not easy, but you just kind of rip the Band-Aid off and get after that step, and you see the dividend after a few months, after a year or so. But yeah, reach out anytime, and I'd love to talk through it.
Yeah, and Daniel, you got two choices. You can be too busy. You can be too busy, and you'll be right where you are. A year from now, we'll have the same exact conversation. Or
No, you guys won't entertain the conversation anymore. I know that if the help's offered, but you need to take the
Well, no,
advice
so-
and go with it or don't.
You know, like I forgot who said it, but you know, obstacles are in your way to find out how much you want something. And,
Absolutely right.
and
So
I think that's what I would say is, you know,
if it was easy, everybody else would be doing it, and
right.
it's a hell of an opportunity that I have to get solved. So
Mhm. Yeah, you're in a business that happens to sell shower doors.
Yeah.
You're not in the shower door. If that makes sense, you're not a shower. You can say, well, I'm a shower door guy. I think the difference between people who get more success than others is people think they are shower door installers, and they're in the glass business. And then there are other people that run businesses that happen to sell shower doors. And that's where I feel I am. I'm in a business that happens to sell shower doors. The numbers apply to whatever business you're in. And yes, it is shower doors, but it's a business. And so the numbers all have to be there. But I think Billy being a step above you, and without trying to insult Billy, maybe I'm a step above him and Bill's 10 steps above me. So, you know, there's all of these people here that are perfect stepping stones for you to analyze and work with. And
yeah, well, it's great to have you guys and for you guys to offer that. And that's the ultimate reason why I'm here. So is to surround myself with people that are at the next steps. So I appreciate you guys offering that.
yeah, I'd say it's harder to go from the hardest thing is to go from a one-man operation to like a 2 or 3 person operation. And then it's a
That
little
is
easier
so
to go to
true.
a 5 or 6 person operation. Then it's a little easier to go to a 10 or 12 operation.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I
I don't know.
believe that. I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're at 26 right now. And that sounds like a lot, but it's really not that many. And going from 20 to 26 is not a problem, but adding 6 people when you're one seems like the world's most Herculean task. And it's extremely difficult because you don't have capital. You don't have a ton of capital. So you got to be the salesperson, you got to be the installer, you got to be the bookkeeper, you got to be quality control, you got to be everything.
Gotta be collections.
You got to be collections. Thank you, Bill. So you got to be all those things. And if you're not, we've all seen this, what I'll call the Chuck in the truck go out on his own because he's going to get rich. He's going to, you know, he's tired of putting the money in the owner's pocket and but he thinks he's going in business to install shower doors. He's not. He's got to run a business that happens to install shower doors, but they think the business is installing shower doors. The business is running the numbers and making sure all your numbers are right. So yeah, the hardest I feel for the one-man operation on here because you got the hardest job. No offense to Bill, his job's easier than yours. Easier than mine.
Now.
Now, correct. Now. Yeah, now. I'm not, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. I do.
Compared to the early days where it was brutal. You'd look around and you go, well, we need to produce sales, but we don't have any money for advertising. And even if we did have money for advertising, we have no idea where to put the money for advertising.
Mm-hmm. I
So
still
you
run
do,
into that.
yeah, the shoe leather approach. You knock on builders' doors, you knock on tile guys' doors. We did a tile presentation yesterday up in Tri-City. So we're, you know, there are ways to do it without money, but the problem is there's only so many hours in a day. But the truth is, the same rules apply to everybody. And
Gotta be done. Yeah.
and it's got to be done. So
And look at your competitors. Who's doing that? They're not.
no.
So if you start doing it and you get your numbers in order, you're going to be way ahead of your competitors. Way ahead. You
Yep.
start making business decisions based on those numbers that are put in here accurately, and you know how to
Right.
read them and analyze them. Now you're milestones ahead of your competitors.
Correct. When you look at people, the glass shops in my town have not scaled over the last 10 years, 15 years, and we have. And when you scale, you are prepared for, you know, more people moving into the area. A lot of us here, some of us here in the Southeast, a lot of movement in the Southeast, and we're capitalizing on that. If you were to go around my town, you'd see the same guys and the same trucks, great guys. They do quality work, but they, you know, a couple showers a week. That's what they do. And they're happy with that. And they've got themselves a job. Maybe another family member's got a job, and that's where they want to be. And if you ask them, they're like, oh my God, employees, the last thing I want is employees. I don't need any more headaches. I have enough headaches. But if you want to run a business and scale a business, you're going to be hiring people. But the toughest part is the 1-man, 2-man operation. And once you start to grow above that curve, it gets easier.
And Dan, the biggest thing that Greg is telling you there is at the end of your road, you got something to sell to somebody.
Oh yeah,
Because if you're just creating a job for yourself, you'll make a living, but you won't have an end game to pass it over to sell somebody. They want to buy systems. They want to buy a thriving business that can be run without you there. So what you need to do is build your business without you being there.
yeah,
That's what somebody's enticing, right? And you want to have an end game. I'll tell you a quick story. So when I started in Massachusetts, I was doing closet shelving. I had a business, but I happened to sell closet shelving. And it grew and it grew. And my next door neighbor ended up deciding to try and do the same thing, the exact same thing. To this day, it's still him and his son. To this day, I've been in Florida 20 something years. I was able to scale it, sell it, move to Florida, take that money, invest it here, and continue to scale. It's still him and his son. When they're all said and done, he's not going to really have anything to sell. Who's going to want to buy that? But somebody's going to be looking at Greg's, Bill's, Shannon's, Billy's business at some point and say, we want to bring that into our portfolio. Here's a guy who knows how to run the business. And when we ask them for these reports, they're going to be accurate. And we have no problem with our controller looking it over or our audit group to make sure that that it's accurate. And I fell into the exact same trap, and I think every single one of us did, that didn't have accounting as our initial background. We were all young, energetic. We could sell. We had a good product to sell, but to analyze those numbers, it took me years. And once you started learning and you can make your decisions based on that, that's when you grow. That's when you grow.
Yeah, a lot of the small guys are like, well, I need a salesperson so I don't have to spend time selling so I can run the business. And they go, I don't know if I have the capital. I don't know if I can afford an employee right now. That's the hardest time, is right at that size.
Yep.
That's the hardest time. So you got to be 2 employees or 3 employees until you can afford another employee. But it gets easier the bigger you get. It's still hard. The responsibility is kind of crushing as you're responsible for more people. But as far as am I making money, do I have capital? Those are issues that kind of take care of themselves. If you're in the shower door business right now and you can put in product and do it, with a high percentage of completion, shouldn't be having cash flow problems. So,
unless you're doing big projects.
Yeah, unless you're doing big projects, which I don't do.
Well, Bill was bringing up also, he's growing and scaling and expanding. The other guys kind of staying the same. And, I mentioned before that accounting is the results, it's the scoreboard. But the real question is, where do you want to go? What do you really want? And especially when you've got multiple people in the business, Mike and I, one of my biggest faults is that I look at the numbers and I feel like I got it all figured out, but I don't bother to communicate with him. And, and we really had to get on the same page with, I'm much more, I want to grow, I want to expand, I want to do this, and he's much more the, well, why? That sounds like too much work. Let's just hang out. And if you've got your parents who have always been like, it's fine, it's good enough, and you're here trying to push, the problem might be so much more psychological than accounting based. And the accounting can be a great way to have some really important conversations about where are we all trying to go? Because if you're going one way and they're going the other way, yeah, so it's a good opportunity.
That was a big part of the emotional conversation I made them go through earlier this week, was like, they're very stagnant with it and comfortable. And I've been trying to pull them into growing for the past probably 5 to 8 years, and just pushing and pushing and pushing. And, like it's all, they've been very comfortable, and then also I was trying to get them to change their when I asked my mom what she thought about the business and like what a business is supposed to be and what it does, I was trying to get her mind wrapped around like what the purpose of having a business. I said, you should be pissed off when we don't make money this month, but you don't even know if we made money this month. As you know, like you don't even know how much we sold this month. Like there's, and then like, you should be happy when we make money. You should be like, yay, who can I go help out this month and give some money to? And do, like, is there a family that needs? You should be happy that you could go do something with the money that your business generated. Or just things like
Right.
that. So I was trying to get their mindset wrapped around getting a hold of all this and like.
Right.
But keep in mind,
Under-
Daniel, if they're not stopping you, it's okay if they don't understand. It's okay. I have
Yeah,
a
they're not.
72 I have a 72-year-old father who doesn't give a shit about what the margins are, how much money we're making, and hasn't for 40 years.
Yeah,
It's okay if they don't understand because they've ran the business. Now, if they're stopping you from growth and they're stopping you from knowing the numbers and they're stopping you from changing margins, that's different. But if you got to beat your head against the wall to make them understand, stop, dude. Just stop.
yeah,
Keep making the right decisions, talking to the right people who know, and make the next right decision. But don't trust me, I've been in these situations. Don't beat them up because they don't understand. They may truly just not understand, but they've ran a business that's survived for quite a few years. Give them the credit that's due. Give them some grace. Give them some grace, and give them some leeway to make the decisions that aren't going to hurt the company. But let them do that. This is the choir and the preacher, the pot and the kettle. It's okay if they don't understand those things. It's okay if they don't care, because I would understand. I would assume you're the next generation of the business. As long as you care and you have those goals to go in that direction, and they're not stopping you from doing so, don't waste any energy on that. Don't take your positive energy. Don't take your drive, your goals. Don't waste it on that. As long as they're there supporting you and they're not stopping you, just keep moving forward. But I trust me. Don't tear them down. That's just my suggestion to you as someone who's been through this pretty recently. Just let them do their thing as long as it's not hindering the company and you're still taking those steps forward.
Yeah, no, that's good. I don't
It's very
tear them
common.
down. Just bring them back to the business a little bit.
Yeah, it's very common for small businesses to just measure their success by their checkbook balance. And the checkbook's rising. We're doing great. Checkbook's falling. Oh no, checkbook's rising. We're doing great. Well, did you collect money? Are your receivables down? Is it profits up? Did you get a big final payment on something? So it's one way to track your success, but it's not a very good one.
Well, Chris, did that help?
Wow. Yeah, that's like great stuff.
Thank you for all that, and I don't mind any of it. Just it's all fine by me. So
Yeah,
it's fun, to be honest.
And the offers are sincere and the offers are real. If you don't want to, that's fine. I got plenty to do. And everybody here, Billy has plenty to do. Billy, you busy right now?
Nothing, guys. Nothing.
Got nothing going on.
Nothing to do. We'll find
Yeah.
something for you to do, Billy.
That's probably one of the hardest things is trying to figure out how the hell to make time to do things. But it's really the biggest priority, but then you really it's stop doing the other crap and go take care of it. So I am taking the last 2 weeks off of this year to hang out with the family and stuff while they're on break. So I'm going to try to figure out some of that time to spend for planning and strategic planning and stuff like that. So I've got 4 years laid out for when I do get it, like the growth strategy that I want written out with like how many employees and stuff like that and what it'll take to get to each level and stuff like that. So I know know some of that stuff, but I'm going to use that time to probably lay out some more of that and actually dive a little bit more into the numbers and write some more stuff down and just figure some more stuff out. So
you've got somebody in this board tonight doing probably a little bit more than you've been real quiet. He's just sitting there with his hand over his forehead right now, Michael. And he came down to my facility. He's been to Bill's facility. We speak at least once every 2 weeks. And it's not like I'm some business mentor. He's just bouncing an idea off of me. So he called a couple of days ago and he said, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? and I give him some advice. He takes it or he doesn't. It's okay. But he's trying to get the viewpoint of somebody that maybe has been there. And Michael is somebody who's just taken advice from people who are a little been there before him. We're just a little further along the line, and he's actually implementing those things. To watch him is so much fun because he's really implementing a lot of these ideas and actually growing his company and making changes, painful changes. And I think maybe of all the people in this room, the one who hasn't said anything is Michael, who's probably, and I don't know your volume, but you're probably real close to Michael's volume. And if anything, if you say to me, what's going to happen? Michael's going to pass you in volume because he's got a plan, he's got a system, he's got numbers, he's talking to people, and he doesn't have time for any of that, but he's making it a priority.
Yeah, you know, actually, so I'm someone who can kind of give you the opposite, like the flip side perspective of this conversation, because I am that guy who, you know, one man operation, and really, you know, was in it for just, you know, the love of it, really just really enjoyed the work, and it was easy to make money at it, and I had a lot of freedom just working by myself, and didn't, you know, had no experience as a business, just a glazer, but was pretty good at it. And once I got into business, I really enjoyed being in business. But I built myself a job. I didn't build a business. I didn't build, you know, something that was really transferable, because I just didn't know any better. And I thought, oh, you know, I'll do this until I get too old to do it, and then I'll just, you know, I can sell my business, you know, or something. So, you know, that time, I'm still not too old, right? But I could kind of start seeing it on the horizon. And I was smart enough to be like, hey, you know, I need to start thinking about an exit strategy here. And so I started calling around looking, you know, well, how do you go about, you know, marketing your business? And found somebody here locally, a broker, who does that. And I talked to him, and we gave him all I did keep good books, and I'm pretty organized and stuff like that. Really, the bottom line of it was he told me the same thing that kind of Greg was talking about earlier. It's like, nobody wants to buy a job. You know, it's like what you built here is a job. It's a really good job. It's a really high paying job, but nobody wants to buy that, right? They want to buy something they can step into, you know, like turnkey, and like just be the owner of, that's already running. And I hadn't built that, you know, so that's why I made a decision to kind of like try merging with, you know, like a bigger company, and hoping that they might, you know, come in and just take over, and like, you know, I could stay on for a while, and then they just kind of run with it, just keep it going, really, more than anything. I didn't have really any expectations of making, you know, a bunch of money or anything like that, but I thought, you know, I built a good business, got a good reputation here locally. You know, it'd be cool for that to just continue on. You know, and after a couple of years of trying that, you know, I mean, that hasn't worked out, you know, so as you guys know, it's like, you know, we're shutting it down here at the end of the year. But, you know, the good news is it's like I'm going into a completely different business, and I've learned all kinds of stuff about like what these guys are talking about. Like Greg is absolutely right. It's like, you're not, you know, you're in business first, and then what you sell is secondary. It really doesn't matter what you're selling. If you build the business right, you can sell whatever, you know. And so, you know, I've done a lot of reading, and I've done a lot of studying, and so this next business that I'm building from scratch, um, according to like some strategies that I've learned. And so it's going to be all systems, all like documented. So there's going to be like a manual. When I get done building this business up, there's going to be a manual that I can hand to someone and say, okay, this is how the business runs. Every single thing that this business does, from greeting a customer to selling a product to collecting on it to advertising, marketing, every single thing that we do, this is exactly how it's done, step by step, and even a video of each process. And then just be able to, that's something that's sellable. But what I'm doing now, man, I love so much, I don't know if I'll ever want to sell it. And that's not really the point. If you've, there's a couple of really good books. In fact, you know, when I was listening to Daniel talk, it made me think about 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And Stephen Covey talks about this thing about like sharpening the saw. And it's like, oh man, I'm trying to cut the wood with this dull saw, and it's so hard, it's so hard. And it's like, well, why don't you just sharpen your saw? Oh, I don't have time to sharpen the saw. I'm too busy, to cut this wood. And it's like, man, no, man, you need to take some time to sharpen your saw. And so another one, another great book is the E-Myth. It talks about all this exact stuff, E-Myth Revisited, where it just talks about building your business initially as though it's going to be a franchise, so that everything that you do is systematized, just like these guys are talking about. So this is like great advice. I'm going to use all of this in my next business. So it's been really cool, like being a part of this group. I mean, this is what we built the group for, is this exact thing, people helping other people. And I've had the opportunity to just kind of live my life and like do my business and make my mistakes and everything, like in front of everybody, like publicly, like in a fishbowl, and just like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm doing next. Okay, here's what I'm going to try now, and it's like, it's been a blast. I don't regret any of it. I'm not the victim of any. As far as I'm concerned, man, I'm living large. I've got a lot of great friends. I've got people. I got a lot of love in my life, a lot of joy, and you guys are a big part of that for sure. Thanks for showing up, and thanks for being willing to share. So, and Daniel, thanks for being willing to be so vulnerable, and transparent. I love that, man. I think that that's a super huge key to getting what you want out of life, and it's like, someone could if you're lost, someone can hand you a map and say, well, here's the map, but if you don't know where you're at on the map really isn't worth anything to you, So I think, the number one thing that I have to do, if I'm like, okay, I'm lost, where am I going? I need to figure out where I'm at now. And that's just taking stock and like doing some research into it, and soul searching and looking at the books and everything. Where am I exactly? Okay, this is exactly where I'm at. Okay, now I can figure out where I'm going.
The second step, Chris, is you got to trust the map, because right.
It's got to be a good map too.
Because I've gone down, I've talked to Bill, I've talked to Greg, I've talked to Keith, everybody, and Keith used to tell me, he goes, people would come down here all the time. We open our doors to everybody and everything, but then people just go back, and then they just go back to whatever they were doing because they don't trust what they saw. So I mean, you gotta be able to read the map. You gotta trust the map too.
That's right.
And break old habits.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing for me, is breaking habits. And I always want to, go out and get more business and do this and do that, and not take the time to sharpen that saw blade, but Chris, you're the best host, and I'm glad you're staying on. Right. And, so, you do this so well, bringing people together and bringing up the topics and tying it all together at the end like you just did. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate that a lot. All right, everyone. Well, that's a wrap.
Hey,
we'll
Chris.
See you next Wednesday. Hey, oh no, maybe not. What is
if
next
I
Wednesday?
may, Chris, if I may,
yes,
if
please.
Everybody can give me like 30 seconds.
Oh, absolutely. Take it.
I know I won't probably be on the call for quite a few weeks going forward. Those that are here, this is like original Shower Door family. Haven't seen some of you in a while. Just want to say thank you. I know that even those who aren't here are probably going to see this later. So appreciative of the outpouring that everybody has sent our way. Things are still kind of messy, but also we're super blessed. We've been back to business for a good 6 weeks now, so a lot of that is because of things that folks have done in the industry, caring for us, calling, sending stuff, sending money. We were in a time crunch pretty quickly in this deal, trying to figure out what we can make happen and not disappear too fast. Because that happens really quickly, no matter how long your business has been around. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. I will do more formal thank yous for all the love that we've gotten when I have a few minutes to sit down and go through that and stop, trying to just get more space and build it out and do all that kind of thing. But truly appreciative. We are so blessed. God has given us a lot of great people in our lives, and that includes a lot of you guys. So just thank you so much for everything y'all have done. And hopefully I get to see some of your faces soon in real life. And yeah, just so grateful for all y'all.
We love you, Billy.
All
Man,
right.
you are an inspiration
Beth.
to us all, man.
Yeah.
Just keep being
Thank-
you.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
Right.
Spot on. There's no better person that we wanted to help.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Awesome.
All right,
man.
Bill.
Okay, guys.